Hey my friends, how are you? Welcome to another free practice session for the Mexican GP, the second one this Friday, which was longer than usual due to a tire test carried out by Pirelli. And of course, it was full of activities on the track. But before I tell you all the details of what happened on the track in this second session, I invite you to subscribe and activate notifications, since that's the only way you'll stay up to date with all the details of the world of Formula One. And if you like full videos like this one, leave a like to support our work. Well, as informed, free practice 2 lasted 90 minutes, which was a decision made by Pirelli so that all teams could test the new tires that will be used in the 2025 season, with a certain number of laps being requested for each team, with them being free to use these tires whenever they see fit, with several opting to start the practice with this compound. Some were unable to get out in the first few minutes, such as Alex Albon, for example, who had an accident in practice 1 and damaged his car a lot, with Williams rushing to reassemble the car in time for him to participate in this session. In his first laps, Verstappen stated on the radio that he continued to hear some strange noises in his engine. It is worth remembering that at the end of practice 1, the driver had a failure in his unit and lost power, having to return to the pits, and apparently, the problem was not completely resolved. So much so that 1 lap later, the driver was called to his garage as he continued to complain and say that the noise he was hearing was not normal. In these first 10 minutes of the session, Sainz was the fastest, with Liam Lawson in second and Piastri in third. Verstappen, Leclerc, and Alex Albon himself were out of time. And 12 minutes into the session, George Russell ended up having an accident and caused a red flag, stopping the session. The driver ended up touching the curbs in a slightly more aggressive manner, and as a result, his car went completely out of control, damaging the side of his car and also damaging the tire barrier. This stoppage really messed up this practice session, which, despite being longer, ended up having a good part of it affected by this long stoppage, since the marshals had difficulty repairing the barriers so that activities could resume. With 54 minutes to go, the track was released, and apart from Russell, Verstappen, and Albon, all the drivers went out on the track for their laps, trying to make up for the damage they had suffered. And the ones who drove well at this moment were Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, with the Racing Bulls car showing an interesting performance on this circuit once again. The driver who was racing in his home GP was unable to get a perfect lap, making a few mistakes and finishing only close to 5th place. At the restart, Verstappen was called back to the garage, with the car being dismantled in search of the problem that persisted, with no information about what might happen to the driver, since if he needs to change the engine, he will receive a very heavy penalty for Sunday's race. A few minutes later, Red Bull confirmed that the driver would not return for this session, so that they could investigate the problem further. With 30 minutes left in the session, Carlos Sainz was in the lead, with Oscar Piastri in second and Yuki Tsunoda in third, with the Ferrari cars once again showing very strong performance on the fast lap and staying well ahead of the pace of Red Bull, which seems not to be adapting well to this circuit for now. In Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton's pace was reasonable, but far from the leaders at the moment. At stake, Zhou also complained about problems with his engine, stating that it was cutting out, in yet another weekend that does not promise much for the team, which so far has been the weakest of the season. In the final minutes, the teams tried to make the most of their time to do fast laps, with the only ones who didn't have time at that point being Max Verstappen and Alex Albon, with Williams apparently not rushing to finish the driver's car in time for this session. Speaking of race pace, Ferrari also led this session, with Mercedes in second place, with the session being well used by the drivers, even with the Pirelli tests and the red flag hampering some a little. And with the time finalized on this Friday night, the fastest was indeed Carlos Sainz, with Piastri in second and Tsunoda in third. The title candidate Lando Norris was 5th, Hamilton in 7th, and Sergio Perez only in 9th. So, with that, we ended the track activities on this first day of the Mexican GP, which was busy and once again left a sense of balance in the air, which is excellent for the rest of the weekend. But tell me, did you like what you saw in this practice?